I got really good news. Finally got some frickin' tube. Waiting so long. Got roughly 48 feet of it, and I can finally start working on the cage. Yeah, got those bushings in. Went smoothly. Kind of just mocked up the steering rack here, or the steering shaft, I should say, in the column there. So the GK Tech aluminum spacers, solid subframe spacers and all that shit are good. They're solid, they're going easy. So now we're doing the cage. You can see I kind of laid everything out here. In my opinion, the main hoop is like the most important part of the cage. It's really like your footing for the rest of the build, so it's really crucial to get all your measurements right and your angles right. What I like to do is draw it out on the floor, so I'm gonna get some chalk and draw it out. Alrighty, so I got it all laid out. If you're looking at like proportion, it almost looks odd shaped, but once you get it in the car, it'll find home and look proper. So if you look here, I kind of use like running dimensions where my lines intersect. Rules for the main hoop is 4 bends to equal 180 degrees. So you can imagine two bends at 90 degrees, 90 plus 90 is 180, right? So I got one bend here, it's gonna be 30 degrees, not 160. So I got 90 here and I got 90 there, so I have a perfect 180. And that's as per FD rulebook and most sanctioned motorsport events. So I have my starting point. Now I need to figure out how long that tube's gonna be and start bending the pipe, and hopefully we have a mirror image on the other side. So we got our main hoop length here. I just added up each side, came up with the final measurement, and then I like to add 2 inches on the bottom of each upright. So if you can look at my drawing here, I had 2 inches on each side. That just gives you a little extra scrap, and then I just shove it up as high as I can and cut it there. So we're gonna do the first bend, and the first bend is 30 degrees. If we reference our original drawing here, 30 degrees, and then the next one, 60 degrees. So let's knock them down one by one. All right, so we got our main hoop here in the JD squared bender. This is 1 3/4 DOM 095 wall tubing. So I have a bend sample. I don't do anything on computers, so it's all with like bend samples and learning as you go. So I figured out it's gonna eat a bit of the material once the bend starts going, right? So I compensate for that. I usually add about 4 inches, so we added about 4 inches. You can see A is actually inside the bender here, and it's about to get bent around this die. So we wanted the center of our bend is A, and that's 30 degrees. So you take your little TIG rod here. I zeroed it out, so it was at 0. I've gone 1 notch already. But all I'm gonna do is just keep bending this tube until we see 30, and put it on the table and see how it looks. So manual bending. Takes quite a bit of effort, not gonna lie. Keeps the gun strong, you know. You can see A's going in there now. see our line there, how it's getting consumed. So I'm hoping that that's going to be right in the middle of our bend once we're done.
We need to grab a hydraulic pump for this, yo.
I know. For real though.
Almost there. 50 degrees, some more degrees to go.
Where we at now?
Just about 60. 60. Right on 60. But
I'm gonna leave it at like 58 and then I can just ratchet strap the bases together if I need to.
okay.
So that's it. Woo! What's up? So we nailed it. Kinda nailed it. We're really good on the height. The width, we grew a little bit. Our angles here actually like worked out perfectly. So can't complain there, but we did grow a little bit in the width. You can see our original line is actually under the pipe. So, but I did compensate when I measured the max distance from this side to this side. I took about half an inch off, so I think it'll fit. We might have to do a bit of hammering, but it's gonna be tight, and that's what you want. So we're gonna see how this fits, and then start marking out the base plates. Frig yeah, bro. Let me adjust it.
Yeah. Just got skin here.
Okay. Here, hold this side over here and I'll switch you. I'll come over there. Alright. Ouch! That's my finger. So these are our base plates. Yeah, we took an inch off the bottom off of our height measurement. So it was 37, I believe, originally, and I just took an inch off. That way we don't have to cut any of the actual like car, the chassis out anymore. But as you can see, it's touching like side to side. It's touching the roof. It's tight. So the next thing that we're gonna want to do is, obviously I cut my base plates, so these are gonna slide under here. Gotta do a bit more trimming yet, but we're gonna cut a hole in the bottom of the car, roughly the size of this tube on both sides, and that's gonna make it so that the hoop can actually drop into the car. So, got the base plates cut. Like I was saying, the cage is really tight against the sides here, so these base plates will pretty much be right against the side of the car. One for each side, so if you pull that base plate out over there, you kind of muscle this around. There it is. Okay, of course go up a bit.
Can't get yours like. There we go.
You kind of gotta muscle it, but at least it's enough drop down that I can sit in the back and actually get my MIG torch up in there and get adequate welds all the way around. So now that we got all this finished, The next objective is going to be making the A-pillars come all the way down to here. Alrighty, so we got some progress here. I think I might have to take just a little bit more off of this one. She's pretty much there.
Shit's pretty tight in there.
Yeah. It's pretty decent. It's like you barely even see if there's a cage in there.
So what type of bends did you have to do for this A-pillar one?
So here, just look at this right now. So you can see it looks like some kinked ass weird shit, right? If you look at it this way, we got two bends to equal 90 degrees. So our first bend is 60, and then when you do this one, we're going 30 degrees. But you can see how it's actually off axis. So what you do when it's in the bender, you actually kink this upright to 20 degrees, and then the one for the other side, it's going to be facing down 20 degrees. So we'll run through that on the next one. And the reason that it's off axis is if you look from the front of the car, imagine there's a straight line coming across the roof. If that straight line were to continue, it's going to come, I don't know, about where the strut tower is, and that would be about where the roof line stops. And you can see this A-pillar actually flares out. So you're gaining distance. So we're going to have to make the next side and like trim it to fit a bit better, but all in all, that's how she goes. Alrighty, so we got our next tube in here. We've already done the first bend, which is 60 degrees. So what I like to do is make sure that we're zeroed out there. Now the other A-pillar was on an angle like this, about 20 degrees. So now we want to go 20 degrees in the opposite direction. So we're at about 18. Whoops. That's about 20 there. So make sure we're still at 0. Yep. We have victory. So you can see our weird looking pipes fit absolutely mint on both sides. So we just taped them into place. But if you stand back, you can barely even see the cage. Like the fitment is right on par. I'm pretty happy with that. So next thing we got to do is mark the copes for this tube that meets up there, and then we got to cut some more holes, unfortunately. But we're making good progress. This is literally the trickiest part. The rest of it is just going to be straight cuts for the most part. The backstays, we're going to do a bar up here, might have 1 or 2 kinks in it, and then something for the steering column as well. But all in all, it's come together. What's up? So it's another day, and coming in the morning, looking at this cage, the way it fits, just gets me absolutely thrilled. I'm really happy with how we made out yesterday. Last night, I just went ahead and threw a couple tacks up in the corners so that we're not having to use clamps or tape to keep the 4 points we have inside the car and stable. So everything's kind of fit up, and I'm hoping that we can drop this hoop back through the holes that we have already cut, and I can get the welds on the top and put that back up for good. The next thing that I'm going to be working on are going to be these backstays here. So right about here down to about there. So we're going to have 2 of those. I've already marked them out, so just cut and cope. But looking from the back of the car, can see how tight it is. It's barely even visible from a certain reference point. Like if you're standing back here, you can't even see the tube. So I got our backstays cut. Next thing to do is cope these tubes so that they fit nicely. Fitment is really crucial when you're doing this. If your copes are bad, then your welds are going to look like shit. It's just, you know, you got to spend the extra 10-15 minutes to do the 2 minutes of welding, then so be it, because the fitment is more important than anything. It's more important than being a good welder, in my opinion. Good fitter is harder to come by. Everybody thinks they can weld, but to fit a cage up, proper fitment, proper copes, it's no easy task. So, 1 3/4 tube. What I'm gonna do is, I don't have a tube notcher, and I never really have used one. Working out in the field, little pipeline, an old pipeliner taught me a little trick. We're just going to be removing like almost like little slivers, like little moons. So you can see I kind of laid it out. You want to always have like a straight line reference that you can always look at, especially when you're clocking the pipe and like you're in your vise. Now what I mean by that is, when you cope this to fit nice like a T, when you go on the other side, you want it to fit like that too, not off axis either way, right? So I always put just like a coordinate line. You could even do two if you wanted, one this way and one that way. So once you remove your little moon, your little sliver here, so you can see I just run my zip cut. You can do it in the saw too. I'm just quicker with a zip cut. So you're gonna run the zip cut just on an angle like that. Remove your half moon. Then I'm gonna take a grinder and I'm just gonna round the edge out with the blade kind of going into the pipe like this. Just round it out. And then this is my sample, so I'm just gonna be testing it to make sure that it fits nice. So I'm gonna repeat that process 4 times. Get these backstays all notched up and fitting good, and then it's welding on the top, but we're not even there yet. So we'll get these done first. So I got my backstays cut and coped. Bada boom, bada bang. They fit pretty good. They're just a little short. So what I'm gonna do is cut the holes in the bottom of the car, right? So I dropped the cage down. You can see the gap now in the roof. So this is a good opportunity to get these welds in the top. So I'm gonna go ahead and get the welds on the top done, get this thing slammed back into place, and then because my backstays are a little shy, what I'm gonna do is get them in position where I'm happy. I'm gonna tack them down there nice and tight. Then I'm gonna take a ratchet strap and I'm gonna just move the whole cage back. Now I know that sounds like, holy shit, you're gonna move the cage back, but I'm shy, maybe 1/4 inch. So to close a 1/4 inch gap, I can push the whole cage back 1/4 inch, and you probably won't even be able to tell. So that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean the pipe, make sure it's nice and shiny, no impurities like grease, fingerprints, cutting oil. All that stuff is gonna cause porosity. So make sure it's nice and clean. Get some welds on the top, and just keep moving along. So those backstays are in place, and using a ratchet strap, you can see how I close the gap up. So those copes fit really, really good, and like I was saying, good fitment means good weld, so I'm happy with that. You can also see, like up in these corners or over here, how it would be almost next to impossible to get those welds done in position. So yeah, I'm happy with where these backstays are. I'm going to tack them in place, and I'll probably be able to cheat the cage still a little bit forward back to where it was, because like you can see the holes here, it did go back quite a bit. So I'm going to tack those in place and just keep moving forward. Alrighty, so moving right along here, went ahead and polished up the tubes that were already in there, and then any other tubes that are going in, just to give it a more finished look. I notched out the rear diagonal brace. Like I was saying, this has to be one continuous piece up to the driver's head, so whether that's left-hand drive or right-hand drive, that will vary the orientation of this tube. But I'm left-hand drive, so it's going up towards me over here, so that's in. The one in the back is in. I'm pretty much out of tube, so I'm just going to be getting the steering column and the dash bar mocked up. The problem I'm running into now is the factory unibody here is interfering with where I want to put my tube, so I'm gonna have to notch this back a little bit. I want to try to keep it looking clean and uniform, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this and then move this tube up a bit so that I can make a bracket for the column here, and then we'll have a nice sturdy steering column. But yeah, no, it looks good. Hell yeah. Well, there you have it. 6-point cage. I think we got a good starting point here. Got to obviously put door bars on both sides. Just made little simple brackets here to tie everything together in the steering column. So might get a little bit more fancy there, but everything's mocked up, tacked in place. The welds on the top already done, so we don't got to worry about any missed welds on the top. So we're pretty much gonna cut it there until we get more tube. But yeah, I'm happy with how it's fitting, and with the polished look too. It's pretty sharp. So thanks for watching. That's how you do a 6-point cage. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next video.